Hey YouTube. Hey, I'm just gonna do a quick video on how to do an oil change on a Kawasaki Vulcan S. I know most of you probably already know, but for those of you that don't, or just curious about how to do it, I know not everyone is mechanically inclined, but I just want to let you know how simple it is. There's a few tips and tricks that you might not be aware of, so I thought I'd share that with you. So first off, I like to put the bike up on the stand, the rear stand. The reason being is because if you come over here and look, so this bolt is the oil filter drain plug. But what happens is when you put the pan, this pan up under here, the kickstand's in the way. So you got to fold it up. Otherwise, the oil will come out of the pan. So in order to put it up, you either have someone sit on the bike, you try to hold it up manually, which is a pain in the butt, or you can just put it up on the stand. One problem with the stand is these spools and the spool holes are so far forward that when you go to put the stand behind it, the stand actually hits the license plate bracket and the little bit of the tail light. Not so much the tail light, but touches it, but this bracket's in the way. So what I do is I just take these two 10 millimeter bolts out and take this license plate off with the bracket. That way it'll give me enough clearance to put it up, put the stand up underneath these spools. So that's what I do. And then once it's up on the stand, I can fold the kickstand up and drain the oil. Normally you would warm the oil up, mainly because it just flows better and it just comes out quicker. But in this particular case, I'm not going to do that because I have some other things I need to do in the meantime. So if it takes a little longer to drain, that's fine. In the meantime, I can go do a couple other things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it up on the stand and get that all set. I gotta take that license plate bracket off. And then I'll go ahead and drain it. And like I said, this 17 millimeter bolt right here is the drain plug. So I'm just gonna put it up underneath there. And then the filter is up around the front side. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's right here up underneath the exhaust. It's not in the way, but it'll make it easier when it's up on the stand. And I'll show you all that in just a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I got the bike up on the stand, and now I can fold the kickstand up. And so what you're gonna need is obviously you're gonna need 17 millimeter wrench or socket. You're gonna need the oil filter wrench because it's on there kind of tight, so you're gonna need it. I got the original Kawasaki oil filter. There's the part number if you want to know which one it is. And I have a crush washer for the drain bolt. I don't always replace it. I know you're supposed to, or they say you do, but there's been many times over the years that I did not replace it. I've never had a leak. This time I just decided to do it. So there it is. And then you're gonna need 2 quarts of oil of whatever you choose. I use Amsoil. It's a great product. Love it. I'm also an Amsoil dealer, so kind of comes in handy. I get a little discount on it, so that's kind of nice. So I just use Amsoil. I use it in my cars, motorcycle, lawnmower, everything. So anyway, so what you want to do is break this bolt loose. And once you broke it loose, you just undo this bolt, take it out. And I don't care if I lose the washer into the pan because I have a new one, but I'm gonna try not to. The one thing I did forget to do is grab a rag. And I didn't put my gloves on, so my hands are gonna get all dirty. So I'm gonna do that in just a minute. But anyway, so we got that taken care of. And now I'm just gonna let this drain, and I don't care how long it takes because I'm gonna go do a couple other things real quick. So I'm just gonna let that all drain out, and then we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so first off, I gotta apologize for this noise in the background. Apparently they decided to do construction next door right when I'm trying to change the oil and talk to you all. But anyway, so as you can see, it's barely dripping now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna loosen up this oil filter. As you can see, it's on there a little tight. So if you didn't have one of these filters, it'd probably be a pain in the butt to try to break it loose. I guess you could use like a pair of channel locks or something, but it'd still be a pain in the ass. So anyway, got it loosened up. Now I just twist it off. And as you can see, it's starting to flow out. So I'm just going to take it off. Just going to set it in there for a minute. So I'm going to let this drip. And then what most people do is they just wipe all that oil residue with a rag. But what it does is it still leaves a little bit of a film of oil on the engine, the bottom of the engine. As you're driving, debris gets up there, and then before you know it, you have this oily crust on the bottom of your engine. I don't like it, so what I do is I take a little bit of brake clean and just spray it, and it makes it perfectly clean and dry, and then you won't get that crusty, oily film on the bottom of your engine. So that's what I like to do. And then I'll show you the rest in just a second. So like I said, I got the Kawasaki filter. And you got to put a little bit of oil, just a little bit, all around this rubber seal. So what I do is I just dip my finger in the oil, just ever so slightly. And you just put a little coating all around this rubber seal, just a little bit. And then put it back on. Now there's a specific torque for that, but I've been doing this for years and years, and I can tell you, if you just tighten it, hand tighten it to where it doesn't go any further, barehanded, is plenty. That is plenty tight. Never had one fail in 20 some years, so that's good enough. And then for the plug, I'm gonna take this old washer off. I'm gonna chuck that in the garbage. And we got this fancy new crush washer. And then we're just gonna put the plug back in. And I'm just gonna clean it off real quick. And so I'm going to tell you this. As far as the torque spec goes for the drain bolt, there's actually a torque spec for it. I have never, ever torqued or used actual torque spec. What I do is I just grab it, snug it, and give it a little tug with your hand. That's plenty. It's probably more than enough. It's probably over tightened, but I don't crank on it for all it's worth. Just give it a nice snug with your hand, and you're good to go. Again, I've been doing that for 20 some years. Never had a problem. Never had one leak. But I'm going to tell you, if you've never done it, look up the torque spec for your bike and get a torque wrench and torque it down. But like I said, I've done this for years and years and never ever had a problem. Okay, so for this, I have a funnel. Stick it right in there. And if you don't know, this Vulcan S takes just under 2 quarts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour in about 1.5 quarts. And I'm gonna look on this window right here. You'll see a top mark and a bottom mark. The oil level has to be somewhere in between those two marks. But what's going to happen is I'm going to fill it up to the very top, because then I'm going to crank it up and the engine is going to cycle the oil and it's going to fill up the oil filter. I'm sorry, the oil filter, and it'll suck some of this level down. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top it off and get not all the way to the line, the top line, but very close. And because it's still on the level surface and it's not on the side stand, you'll get a good accurate reading. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. As you can see, the oil level is starting to drop. I just poured 1 quart in, and as I was pouring it in, it filled up, but it's dropping down. So now I'm pouring about half, and then I should be pretty close. But then I'm gonna start the engine up. All right, so you can see it's, I went over the mark, but it's still coming down a little bit. So I put about 1, maybe 6/10, 7/10 in. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna let it settle for just a second. It's within the safe zone, so we're good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove this filter, I'm sorry, this funnel. I'm gonna put the cap back on, and then we're gonna crank it up, and then we're gonna pour some more oil in. All right, so as you can see, the oil level dropped significantly. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour some more oil in, and then we should be good. I'm also gonna put it down on the ground off the stand, because it takes just under 2 quarts and it's almost there. So I'm gonna make sure once I pour in the desired level, I'm gonna put it down and I'm gonna look. I'm just gonna lean my head over the side and I'm gonna check it. So now I'm going to take it off the stand. And it's still a little bit low, so I'm going to pour just a little bit more in here. So as you can see, the level is between the two marks. I could probably put a little bit more in there, but I'm pretty satisfied with that. It took the full 2 quarts, so maybe Amsoil doesn't measure exactly 2 quarts. I don't know, but it took just a little bit more than 2 quarts. I'm sorry, it took exactly 2 quarts, Amsoil quarts. But I think I might just put just a smidget more in there and then call it a day. So it's up to the pretty much up to the full line now. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. And that pretty much does the oil change. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the funnel out, put the cap back on, and this thing's all set. So anyway, just wanted to say that's pretty much how you do an oil change. It's pretty simple. Anybody can do it with just a couple small hand tools and a rag. That's pretty much all you need. So if you didn't know how to do it, hopefully this helped you. And if you want to see anything else on the Vulcan, leave a comment below. Also, if you wouldn't mind, hit the thumbs up and like button, and please subscribe to my channel. I got a bunch of videos coming up, and I already got some out on this bike and my XSR, so I would really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you so much for over 100 people now that subscribe to my channel. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one.